Hi, everybody. I'm Congressman Tom Klintock of California. It's always an honor to join all of you who sacrificed so much to restore the blessings of liberty to the people of Iran. Iran is one of the oldest and greatest civilizations in history, but it's been suppressed and plundered by a clique of theocratic thugs that comprises the illegitimate Iranian government. In past years, the Iranian people have known the happiness and prosperity that freedom makes possible, and they're rightfully seeking to reclaim it. And you're not alone. That's why more than 250 members of the United States House of Representatives, a solid majority of the entire House, made up of Republicans and Democrats, have co-sponsored House Resolution 118, which expresses support for the Iranian people's desire for a democratic, secular, and non-nuclear Republic of Iran, and which condemns the violations of human rights and state-sponsored terrorism by the Iranian government. This is a strong statement that the people of the United States and their government want Iran's corrupt regime held accountable for its crimes against the people of Iran and their sponsorship of terrorism around the world. During a recent visit to Iranian resistance headquarters in Albania, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo declared, quote, "A serious missing factor in United States policy towards Iran has been the lack of political support for the organized opposition," end quote. Well, I couldn't agree more. We have to ensure that the prevailing policy of the United States is to coordinate with Iranian resistance to return Iran to the company of free and prosperous nations. Prior to this resolution's introduction, the primary Iranian policy discussion in Congress was focused on the desire to re-enter the Iran nuclear deal. Yet we've successfully argued with this resolution that America's greatest leverage in addressing the threat from the current regime is with the Iranian people. My fellow colleagues and I believe that the people of Iran are our best chance, and therefore U.S. policy must shift its focus towards the Iranian people and their organized resistance. I'd also like to take this time to thank Maryam Rajavi and all of those in attendance here for offering hope to your people in Iran. Madam Rajavi, your 10-point plan for the future of Iran will ensure that the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly, and the freedom of every Iranian to choose their elected leaders will lead to enlightened principles that are the foundation on which the new Iran will be built. Despite the Tehran regime's attempt to downplay your movement, actions taken by it prove they know the truth, that dissent is strong throughout the country. We have seen the Iranian people taking to the streets year after year, demanding liberty and justice. The ruling regime has denied the people of Iran these rights, and by so doing has lost any claim to legitimacy. The world sees that, just as you see it. The dictators in Iran are not content with just persecuting dissidents at home. They've committed crimes against humanity, supported terrorists across the globe, and even used their diplomats to plant bombs. 4 years ago this month, a terrorist diplomat was dispatched by Iranian rulers to blow up the 2018 Free Iran World Summit. I know many of you were present at that gathering to support the Iranian resistance movement. This terror plot was thankfully foiled, and the Ayatollah's henchman was arrested and convicted in an impartial court of law in Belgium. The bipartisan members of Congress who co-sponsored H-Res 118 unequivocally condemn, quote, past and present Iranian state-sponsored terrorist acts against United States citizens and officials, as well as Iranian dissidents, including the Iranian regime's terror plot against the Free Iran 2018, the alternative gathering in Paris. We also call, quote, on relevant United States government agencies to work with European allies, including those in the Balkans, where Iran has expanded its presence, to hold Iran accountable for breaching diplomatic privileges, and to call on nations to prevent the malign activities of the Iranian regime's diplomatic missions. H-Res 118 marks the overwhelming congressional sentiment that Iranian rulers must be held accountable for such reprehensive behavior. It is well past the time for the Biden administration to take into consideration Secretary Pompeo's recommendation and to provide political support for the Iranian opposition movements and constructively engage Mrs. Rajavi's leadership and her Jeffersonian platform for a free, secular, and democratic republic in Iran. Our national security, peace, and the stability of the region, as well as the desire of the basic God-given rights of the Iranian people for freedom, all demand that the United States remain firm when it comes to the Iranian government, as firmness is the only language the Ayatollahs in Iran are known to understand. As Benjamin Franklin once said, "Our cause is the cause of all mankind, and that we are fighting for their liberty in defending our own." Ladies and gentlemen, the world stands with you and your fight for freedom. As it was once our duty to relinquish the tyrannical bonds of unjust rulers, it is now your turn to continue this endeavor for democracy.